B.
Hi, Kat.
My little beanie baby.
I'm here.
You are going to talk to me today about priming.
I am.
All right.
We're going to go through priming and force priming in detail and what the differences are.
So why don't you first tell me, what does priming mean?
Priming simply means getting, on an espresso machine, means getting water through your entire water circuit.
Okay.
So just ensuring that water is going from your water tank all the way through your machine, either through your brew head or your coffee dispenser or your water or steam arm.
Okay.
So you know that water is going through at a right rate and nothing's clogging it up, and that your boiler is full of water. That's the main thing that it's ensuring, is that your boiler's full of water and it's not heating up without water in it.
And why do I need to do this? What, or when?
I'd say every time you turn on your machine, you should make sure that water is coming, from your water tank through your brew head, for a number of reasons. I think a lot of people like to do it and get in the habit of it because old water is in their boiler. Who knows the last time you used your espresso machine, there's probably been water in there that whole time. So you're ensuring the safety of your machine, but also using newer water that hasn't been sitting in your boiler for, a couple days, a week, a month, whatever it may be.
Okay, so when I come to the machine each day, or whenever I come to it, I want to run some water through. But it's a brand new too, I'll have to go through this as well, because there won't be any in it, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And a lot of the times when a boiler's drained, which could happen after you get your machine repaired and it's shipped back to you, or when you get a brand new machine, your boiler will be drained just because the manufacturer doesn't know what type of climate it's going to be in, maybe during shipping. If water's in your boiler and it does go below a freezing point, the water will expand and something bad can happen to your boiler. So that's the main reason it's done. And what that can do is get air in your water line, and then that would be the point in which you need to actually force prime your machine. If priming it isn't working, sometimes your machine and the pump will need assistance just to get that water into the water line and moving.
A little helping hand.
Exactly.
So, how is it frequent that my machine will sit there and it will lose its prime? Or is that something that kind of rarely happens?
It's something, force priming it is rare.
Okay.
But there are actually some machines that priming the machine is just built into its software.
Okay.
So some machines, I think the Excelsis is a good example of that. When you turn it on, it primes itself. It gets
just
water
handles
through
it.
the front, but a lot of the lower end machines don't do that, and you kind of have to habitually do that yourself and kind of make it part of your coffee routine.
So you're going to show me a demo here. We got an Oldea refurb that has the boiler's been drained on it.
Exactly.
Okay. And so you're going to show me first. We're going to take a look at what the priming process looks like.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So in this case, with this particular machine, it's a lot easier just to get straight water through your steam arm. So we'll be priming it through the steam arm. And like you're saying, this is a Seattle Coffee Gear refurbished Oldea Juro. And just because they don't know what type of climate this is going to go into, they drain the boiler. So I'm going to turn this on, and immediately we're going to get an air. The red exclamation point is going to quickly be flashing, and that means it needs to be primed. So we're going to turn it on here. It takes a minute, really quick. There we go. So
SOS.
Now we hear the brew unit moving in there, and that's exactly. There are two rates of the alarm on this machine. When it's flashing slower, at a slower rate, it means you're missing something, like your bean hopper's not in place. Actually, let's see. There's the slower rate.
Okay. You need to put your lid on your bean hopper.
Exactly.
Okay.
But this rate is actually telling us we need to prime the machine. So we have our water selected. Our water droplet there is selected. And all I'm going to do right now, our water tank is full, is I'm just going to select water here and see if we need to just prime the machine or force prime it. We're going to find out here in about a couple seconds.
Basically, you just activate it and wait until you see water come out?
Exactly. And so it looks like our alarm already went away, and now it's actually telling us it's heating up. So this was a good example in the sense that we didn't have to force prime it. It seems like there was probably enough water in the water line still I'll go ahead and turn this off.
To kind of
To get it started, it didn't actually need any assistance.
Okay.
But it's really kind of subjective to your machine. A lot of different things can happen, like, you know, the lines are going in different angles, you know, a lot of S-curves in those lines, and depending on where the water may or may not be in there, and what kind of condition the pump's in, all of those things are factors in terms of whether you're going to have to just prime your machine or force prime it.
So if I'm going to have to, so now it's kind of running through its whole diagnostic, I'm getting ready to rumble situation.
Exactly.
So if I did have to force prime this model, and obviously this is different on different machines, the first place would be to find on your machine where the water intake is.
Exactly. That's exactly what you have to do.
All right. So on this guy.
Yeah, let's say we had to force prime this machine. I'm actually just going to give it a quick little turn here.
Okay.
Because the water tank is on this side. I think we're done here. We can kind of get that out of there. I'm going to take out the water tank, which will give us an alarm, but that's fine. It's kind of, there we go. Now it's out. So
we've got just a solid red that's like, you don't have any water at all.
Exactly. Okay. So there's our water intake, just like you're saying. And that's coming from right here on the water tank. You know, just makes a connection there, and it's able to, you know, just draw from the water tank just fine. Okay. And so to force prime this, they're not, you know, I know customer service at SCG does a lot with, like, you know, they get creative with, like, what are they called? Chicken basters? Is that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they've had a lot of success with people using those in the home if they have them in their kitchen, just to try to force water in there.
Okay.
Seattle Coffee Gear actually sells this priming thing right here.
Okay.
So, you know, you can just get your water, bring it up. The only problem with this in particular is it's only made for certain styles of water tanks.
Okay.
And it's really good for the like the Vienna and the Magic and the Royal, that type of water setup, because you can just put it right in there and get down in there, and it kind of helps the circulation go. But this type of connection right now doesn't work very well.
Okay.
But these are very cheap. We have a lot of them. And so something that the techs do here to do that is, you know, they'll make it work. So essentially what we've done here is we've cut off that end. And we've put this tube on. So now this is a perfect fit to go onto the water inlet. And so, I mean, there's no water in here yet, but then, you know, I can just kind of sit here, and when the pump's running, I can just kind of gently push in here, and I can be forcing water in.
Got it. So basically, the pump's going, you're forcing some water in, and then would you do that until you see some water come out of the spigot, and then you know, I'm good to go, let me put my tank back on?
Definitely.
Okay.
You can do one of two things. Wait for water to be coming out, or, you know, you can visually be watching that alarm. You could see that that alarm actually went away before we saw water coming out. So if you're doing it, and the alarm goes away, essentially the board of the machine is hearing from the flow meter and is like, oh, hey, I'm actually getting some water now.
Okay.
Water's coming through my water line. We're good to go. I'm going to start heating up. And, you know, it just takes a second to go through the whole water line and then come out the spigot.
And you have to, with this guy, you have to engage a little sensor down here as well, right?
Yeah, with this machine in particular, there is a little board right on the other side of this square. That's why that is there. And it's adhered to the other side of this. So actually, this will be really interesting. If you watch right here, this alarm right now is telling me that the water tank's gone because that board's not feeling it. But if I just take my fingers, because that's what it's looking for.
It's a little bit of pressure.
That will go away.
Nice.
So that's one way you can get your pump running. So let's say right now, it was giving us alarm to prime the machine.
Okay.
And you couldn't just prime it, and you're running into the fact that you need to force prime it.
So you're going to suck a little water into that?
I am. I'm going to get this up here in this little dealie. Get that going. I'm going to put it here. And just to be clear, your pump will not run if the tank's not there. That's why you have to fool the machine.
I see.
So if I believe that's right, actually. If I just turn this...
It's just letting out what was in the line.
That was all the pressure in your line. The pump's not actually going to run. Now, if I put this here, you kind of got to get...
You got to get handsy. Invite a friend over.
I need help! Okay, so we're going to turn this, and I'll hear the pump running. There it goes. And then when you hear that pump, just go ahead and try to assist it. And, you know, like in this particular case... you know, I couldn't really feel it, but like if your machine actually needs to be force primed, you'll be holding some pressure there, and then all of a sudden you'll feel the pump take it. You're like, oh, it just worked. And when you do that, turn it off, because you want to prevent any more water, air from getting in your line.
Okay.
And then put your tank right there, and then it's just good to go.
And then you'll be ready to rock.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm doing this. If I get my brand new machine and it's not priming on its own, if I have had it shipped in or I've shipped it myself for some reason, shipped it, for repair, etc.
Exactly.
You're going to do it then, or prime it at least, maybe force prime it.
Exactly.
And then if it's been sitting for a while, you may need to prime it and you may need to force prime it.
Exactly.
Those are my main areas of concern.
Definitely.
Right.
All those, anything that would lead to air getting in your line. And sometimes that could just be simply, an extended period of time where you're not using your machine. Some air could get in the line that way.
It's just would maybe evaporate?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, so that is our priming primer.
There we go.
Starring Brendan Svensson.
That's me.
Thank you.
Of course.